Hey everyone, Michael Rosmer here with Richucation, here today to talk to you about rule number 4 of investing. We have 5 rules, and these 5 rules are designed to help maximize your risk-weighted return. That means decrease your risk while increasing your return. Okay, so that ultimately you end up in the best possible or a much better investment situation in terms of how much money you have at the end of the day. Okay, and doing that predictably, not based on haphazard whatever it is that people are doing these days. Okay, so rule number 4, which if you haven't got the first few rules, the first one, these are in order of priority. Okay, rule number 1, most important rule. Rule number 2, second most important rule. Rule number 3, third most. This one, fourth most. Until we get to rule number 5, which we'll get to in a moment. So rule number 4. What is rule number 4? Rule number 4 is protect your downside. So this is frequently to do with structuring. Okay. As an example, I could lend money to somebody to buy a property. That's great, it's a loan, but I have a lot of downside. I could lose all my money. Protecting my downside would be, okay, I'm going to do that, but we're going to put the property in my name, or we're going to put it in the title in trust, or I'm going to have a mortgage on the property. Something like that, right? Something that's going to protect you. Or I'm going to take some other form of security. You're going to give me your vehicles, or, on and on and on. So there are ways to make financing deals work by getting creative about how you protect the downside. And so that's what we want to do, is with ourselves, when we're investing, we want to find ways to protect the downside. That might be saying, okay, you're going to have regular distributions to me, which might actually also hurt you, so pay attention. It's going to mean, okay, what is my security? Okay, so this is the concept of security, which could be a title, could be a mortgage in certain cases, obviously in the case of property. It could be trust, something's in trust, could be collateral, we'll put mortgage / collateral. It could be cash flow. Could have to do with the actual structuring terms. So this is where, when you're dealing with venture capitalists, and often angel investors, private equity firms, etc., they'll have terms where they get paid out first. Or, there'll be things like this. Protecting your downside might also have to do with how the shares can get diluted. Okay, so if you've ever watched that movie, The Social Network, you know that Eduardo Saverin from Facebook got his shares diluted down to like nothing because all the other shares were non-dilutable and his were, or however it worked. I don't know the details about that situation, but basically you got screwed. So protect your downside. What are some other things? Well, somebody could rip you off. So you may want multiple signatories on accounts. This is a really important thing. I've seen people who have basically treated company money, and which happen to be investor money, basically like their personal bank account. That's a big problem. Okay, so protect your downside. Have controls in place. So we'll maybe add that. Financial controls. You might have some sort of like insurance. You might have some sort of like a warranty or something. So I'll give you an example. People talk about Richard Branson being this big risk taker. But really, when they started Virgin Atlantic, they had a deal with the airline, not the airline, sorry, they were the airline, with the aircraft manufacturer that if things didn't work after a year, they could return the jet. So they weren't on the hook for, 25 years or whatever. They were protecting their downside. Okay? So always think in that term when you're investing. I mean, you should think of it in business and in life, probably in general, but protect your downside. Okay. Again, this is a big topic. All 5 of these topics are huge, and that's why we have lots of videos that we're covering with you on them. But this is a basic overview to start off with. Rule number 4: protect your downside, have security, find some ways of making it so that instead of losing money, you're going to lose less money. Okay, what are some other examples? let's do this. Okay, so diversification could be in certain cases. Diversification, which could also be asset allocation. You could also have stop losses in the case of certain things. I'm generally not a fan of stop losses because I believe in buying assets that are fundamentally strong, and so if they go down, I want to buy more of them, not sell it. But there are certain cases where stop losses are useful. That gives you some idea. Let's see here. Diversification. So, what's it called? Basically, it's money management. The term isn't coming to me, but it's this concept that you don't risk more than a certain amount on any given investment. Again, there's certain places where that's especially important, certain cases where it's not so good. But these are some of the ideas, and there's lots of different nuances depending on the type of investment you're getting in. Maybe you'd have somebody else guarantee you, right? So somebody's going to guarantee an investment for you. Guarantee. Maybe you're using somebody else's money, OPM. So what does that do for you? Well, you're in a situation where if there is a loss, they take it, but you're going to take part of the upside. I don't recommend that in most cases because I want to suggest you build a reputation, you're investing in solid things, etc. But that can be a way to protect your downside. So anyway, lots and lots of different strategies available, and we're going to get into details. As we go through each of the asset classes, we'll be covering this type of stuff, right? We'll see you on the next video.